Hello.
Hi.
Hi, beautiful. How
Hello,
are you?
gorgeous. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't think you
Yeah.
were going to be here today.
Yeah, I didn't go because I have a grandbaby here that's been sick, and so I've been watching her, trying to
Okay.
trying to fix my camera where it doesn't fall.
Gotcha. I know, me too. Like, I was like looking down at my laptop, so I put a basket under it to make it higher. And now it's really high.
She
Oh, yeah.
she's probably gonna walk in here, so I'll mute whenever she does.
I see her back there.
Yep.
That little cutie. Hi, Reese. How are you? You're muted, but I saw you say good. How are you?
Watch out.
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks. Good to see your face. Good to see your mama's face. Hi, friend.
Hi.
Cute glasses.
Yeah, I have my hair done too.
Yeah, me too. Look,
Reese did my hair.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Are those
Yeah.
glasses new? They're cute.
Um,
I like
they've
how,
been around.
I like how big they are.
Yeah.
They're big glasses.
They make my face look big too.
No, they don't. I think they're super cute on you.
Yeah, they are cute. I like them.
Uh-huh.
Thanks.
Hi, little one.
Say hi. Don't
Hi.
be shy.
How are you?
She's actually doing better. She had flu type A and strep.
Oh my.
No.
Yeah.
You
So she's
feeling better?
been.
Wait, which green girl is this?
This is Kinsley.
Kinley.
Kinsley.
Kinsley.
Yeah.
Kinsley. Okay.
She's been shy. Okay, let me be on this call, and then you can you can go play over there. You can bring your books in here. Sorry, y'all.
You're good. You are good. Okay, while we're waiting to see if anybody else is going to come on, how are y'all doing so far? Are you at this point in the game? Are you where you had hoped you would be? And not necessarily like in achieving all the goals that you have set out, but in your level of commitment that you wanted to be committed in this.
So, like, I'm gonna be totally honest about this weekend. When I got off a quest, I came straight home to a sick kid all weekend. So I did not get. I got some pillars done on Friday, Saturday, not one, Sunday, some, and then yesterday was kind of a fresh start for me. But taking care of her, I just like, and I was zapped from Quest too. I was zapped.
Sure.
And so I didn't have it in me. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try, and I'm too tired. I'm too tired. So yeah, I kind of flaked this weekend.
Okay. I get it. No judgment.
Mhm.
I flaked this weekend too. I was in Denver. It was, yeah, I didn't get all the things done. This is a
Mhm.
fresh start for me on Monday as well. Well,
Yeah.
and I did really great until everybody left life group last night, and there were 2 cookies left of the gluten-free cookies.
Mhm.
My Tamara needed to take those. Now I didn't. I sent the rest of the dessert to work with Jeff today because I needed them out of the house.
Mhm.
I'm like, we need to give this to all the people. But last night I ate 2 cookies. Not just one, but 2. I'm like, ah, yeah. How about you,
It's not the
Cynthia?
whole package.
No, it wasn't the whole package, but
I this weekend went to my mom's and
Oh.
I did all the things I needed to on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I didn't do anything. I just decided I was gonna that it was all too much, and I just gave myself grace. So
you know what? I love
no
that.
no guilt or anything. I just know that that happens, and you just have to do it, you know, Monday morning or whatever, start over again. So
Yeah,
that's where I am today.
Okay. I actually love that no guilt and all grace. That's so good. Because that can be challenging for us. So
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. So that is a win. So were y'all able to sit with the healing questions from the last session? Were y'all able to watch that? You may not have been when you were gone. Okay.
No, I didn't look.
I encourage you to watch it because I think, well, I know that a really critical component to abundant life is walking healed.
Mhm.
And you know, we can get healed from all the things that we need healed from in our hearts, and then things happen again. So it's an ongoing thing. It's not, we know that. It's like it's not just a one and done. Oh, I'm healed now forever. Like, you know, until tomorrow, right? Or until 5 o'clock or whatever. But you know, a lot of the things that keep us from abundant life are because of the heaviness that we carry around in us that come from the hurts that we have and the pain that we have. And the reality is that hurt people hurt people. But the opposite of that is also true, that healed people heal people. And so we want to be those people who are healed so that we can meet people in their hurt and be used by God to bring healing to them as well. So it's good for us, but it's, you know, it's also good for others. And so so watch that if you haven't watched that yet on healing, because there's some questions that I think are good to just sit with the Lord and reflect on the state of your heart. So okay, so I'm going to make an announcement at the end. So y'all don't let me forget that. Well, YouTube probably already know the announcement because I talked to Melinda about it. And then Cynthia, I talked to you about it some last night. But for those that are watching the recording, I want to be able to share that. So don't let me forget. So today we are talking though about authenticity. Authenticity. So if you have a pen and paper, go ahead and get it out. Today is April 23rd, 2024. And this component of abundant life that we're talking about today is authenticity. So here is your first question. Who are you most authentic with? Just think about it. You can write it down if you want to, but who are you most authentic with? Who is that one person, or maybe a couple people, maybe even 3 people, who fully know you? Who are you? You are 100% you with that person. They know the good, they know the bad, and they know the ugly. And you don't have to pretend with them. You don't have to, you know, be on for them. You're just fully you. It's important that we have those people in our lives. Hopefully that's our husbands is one of those people. But I will even share, I'll be really authentic with y'all right now. There were a lot of years that I was afraid to be fully authentic with Jeff. Even I was, as I was growing and changing and becoming more free in the Lord, there was a little bit of some fear of judgment that I had from him. And I would, you know, share that with him, and he'd be like, why do you think I'm judging you? And I'm like, I don't know, but I think you are. And he was like, well, I'm not. And so I think it was more me than it was him actually judging me. It was just this fear of, like, I know how different I am. And if he knows how different, is he going to like this different person? And so there was that fear. So there was a season where I wasn't even fully authentic with my husband. Thankfully I am now, because I've, you know, grown and am more free now. And but you know, there was a time when I felt like I was more often authentic with a couple of my friends than I was even with Jeff. And so, but hopefully your husbands are somebody that we can be fully authentic with. And then hopefully you have a girlfriend that you can be fully authentic with, because that is a whole different thing to be authentic with a girlfriend than it is with your husband. So to define authenticity is, so it's really just being true to your own personality, your spirit, like your character, like who God made you to be. And it's not false, it's not imitation, and it's not a counterfeit. So think of somebody who you know that is really authentic. I want you to write their name down. And then I want you to share something that you appreciate about that person. It's just the three of us. So you can just blurt it out. Like, you don't have to say who it is. You can if you want. I would say for me, it's my friend Amy. She's so authentic, no matter who she's talking to, no matter what she's doing. There's no pretense in her at all. She's not trying to impress anybody. She's very accepting of everybody, like right where they're at. And so she's probably one of the most authentic people that I know. So that's who comes in my mind. So who's somebody that comes to your mind, and what is it that you appreciate about them?
Right off the top of my head, it would be MJ,
Mhm.
because she just lets it all out, and it's not ashamed, or she's just like, this is who I am. It's who
Mhm.
God created me to be. So I think she's the most authentic person. I mean, there's several. I mean, I can't name them all, obviously, but
Yes, I love that. I would agree with you on that too. How about you?
mhm.
Mm, uh, Erin is pretty authentic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Erin?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, she is. What do you appreciate about that?
Well, I think with most authentic people, in her too, there's no guessing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Makes
Mhm.
perfect sense. Yes.
Yeah.
And I love how thoughtful you are. I'm just going to say,
What?
like, I love how thoughtful you are, the way you take time to think through and to give an
Uh,
honest answer. I appreciate that about you. Just wanted you to know that.
Mhm.
Um, okay. So don't say a name here, but think of somebody that you know who is so fake. And you're just like, oh my gosh. And what is something that you really struggle with when it comes to that person? So don't say a person's name, please. But what's the thing that comes to your mind, that how you feel about them?
I think the Facebook post of look at me, and then Jesus this and Jesus that, and then the very next thing is party, 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 and guys, 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 and knowing
Mm,
that, you know what I mean? It's the hypocrisy in it.
yeah.
Either you're with God or you're not, and I'm not saying she's not when she's, whatever, doing the men thing, but if you can't, if you're trying to lead people to Christ and then they see that you're doing this other thing too, it's kind of a fraud to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I see that, and
Yeah. So the hypocrisy.
yeah.
Yeah.
that's the word that came to my mind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Okay. Um, so obviously we don't want to be those people. And
Mhm.
obviously we want to be we want to be authentic, but you know that sometimes that's hard. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, but here's some signs, I guess, of an authentic person that I just kind of thought of. And so you can kind of think about the opposites of these. And if any of those hit home, then that might be something to really consider. So like one thing is, you know, authentic people, they really don't try hard to make people like them. It's not like they don't want people to like them, but that's not their number one goal, is for everybody to like them. They're just not about the people pleasing. It's like, take me or leave me. And I'll just share, you know, that was a big struggle for me for a long time. I wanted everybody to like me. And even today, it's hard when I know somebody doesn't like me, but I'm more accepting of that now and just be like, well, okay. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Me too.
Not everybody's gonna like me. Okay. I would say another sign is that they can really accept their faults. So they're not pretending to have it all together. Can just be really accepting of, okay, yeah, I did that. I'm not proud of it. Don't love it, but it is what it is, right? I think another indicator is that they're less judgmental of others. And I think the reason why that is because they understand their own faults. And so therefore they give a little bit more grace to others and accept others where they're at, because, you know, when you know that you're a hot mess and your life isn't all together either, it's easier to have more grace for others, you know, when they make mistakes. So they're less judgmental. I think they self-reflect a lot. I think they kind of regularly assess themselves to be more aware of themselves so that you can stay true to yourself. You have to know what your own personal like values are, and regularly assessing, am I staying true to my values? Am I staying true to who God says that I am and who I believe that I am? In all areas of life. And that just requires, you know, a self-awareness and self-reflection. I think that they honor others. I think authentic people honor others. I think authentic people have good character in that they don't cheat, they don't lie, they're not deceitful, they're not divisive. And then, I mean, this is a little bit of the same of the others with the accepting of faults, but they unapologetically express their shortcomings and express their true selves and embrace their faults and embrace their weaknesses, which, you know, is not a very popular thing to do. It's just to be like, okay, this is where I'm weak and let me boast in that, you know, but I think that authentic people do that. So here's a question for you to consider, is which of those would you like to have more of? And it doesn't mean that you're not that way. I mean, maybe there's some of these that you're just going, yeah, no, I don't do that at all. Or maybe you think, you know, I'm a little bit accepting of my faults with other people, but I want to be more. I want to just be more of, okay, this is who I am. This is what I did. I'm not proud. Moving on, you know, maybe that's your thing. Or maybe you want to spend more time on self-reflection. So consider that. What is something that you would like to have more of? And then I will say this too on the honoring thing. So I started to say respect. And here's my 2 cents on on respect, I think that we're not called to respect everyone. And hear me out on this. Like, respect them for who they are and how they live their lives. I can think of a lot of people that I have very little respect for, but I am called to honor them because I'm honorable. That is why I honor, right? And so it really doesn't have to do with a person's actions. It has to do with they are another human being that was created in the image of God. And therefore, I think that requires us to honor people, even if they don't act honorable. But we honor because we are honorable. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And then obviously, like in addition to whoever came to your mind, about a person who's really authentic, Jesus was the most authentic. Like he's the greatest example of what that looks like to be really authentic. He obviously walked that out perfectly, and we're not going to walk it out perfectly, but it gives us a great picture of what to strive for. And his mission was not to make everybody like him. His mission was to speak truth and invite people into his love, right? And who he is. And so a lot of people didn't like him. A lot of people hated him. And I'm sure he didn't love that, but he wasn't about trying to make people like him. Always spoke truth, even if that made other people uncomfortable, or even maybe if it made him uncomfortable at times. I would imagine that did. I think about the episode of The Chosen. It's been a minute since I saw this, but it's the one, if y'all have seen it, it's the one where he goes into like the local synagogue and they're all talking about, the coming Messiah. And he essentially, if I'm remembering it right, he essentially says he's the Messiah. And they're like, I think it was in his hometown, maybe, which would have taken a lot of courage because they're thinking there ain't no way that is who you are. And, he could have just stayed quiet or whatever. And obviously, like, I know that's a show, but I just kind of thought of that. So anyway, okay, so a big piece to authentic living is vulnerability. So I want to talk to you about vulnerability for a minute. And vulnerability is easy for some people, and it's really hard for other people. And understandably so. Some people have been vulnerable with others and then have been deeply, deeply wounded because of that. And so you tend to want to put walls up around you and kind of guard your heart in that way. But I would say a huge thing that keeps us from, well, there's several things I think that keep us from wanting to be vulnerable. But I think that if you're not willing to be vulnerable, it's hard to be fully authentic. And shame is one of those things that keeps us from being vulnerable. I don't know if y'all have ever read Brene Brown's books or listened to her TED Talk or listened to any of her podcasts or whatever, but Brene Brown is one of, like, she's definitely somebody that I think of when I think of authenticity. She does shame research, which is a very interesting thing. Like, she is a shame researcher. And if you haven't read her stuff, like, pick up her books. They're really good. But she says, shame is feeling or believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. And people who have a strong sense of love and belonging have a sense of worthiness. They believe that they're worthy of love. And, we talked about that on week 1, right? How important it is to know that you are worthy of love because you were created in the image of God. And He loves you no matter what. And that part is so important to authenticity. And people who have this worthiness, they know innately that they are so worthy just because of because God created them, period. They People who have that worthiness, they don't carry shame because they know that mistakes and failures and sin don't define them. And a lot of times we can get caught up with, oh my gosh, I did that, therefore I am this. And that is not true. We're not defined by our actions. Even if our actions are good and honorable, like we're defined by how God defines us. So instead of letting their mistakes and their failures and their sin define them, instead, they have courage and compassion and connection. And so those three are really key. Courage is telling your story with your whole heart, all the things, all the pieces. Compassion is being kind to yourself first and then to others. And if you think about that, like that so lines up with scripture, we're to love our neighbor as ourself. And then connection happens as a result of authenticity. And so we've all had those moments where somebody has come to us and said, okay, I need to share something. And they've been really vulnerable and really transparent and really honest. And then because they've shared that with you, now you feel like you can be that way in return to them, right? And that is what creates that connection. And we are made for connection. And if we're going to have that kind of connection, then vulnerability has to be a part of it. And transparency has to be a part of it. And authenticity is a result of doing that. So there's nothing that's off the table. And when we can embrace that vulnerability and believe that that's what makes us beautiful, then that's a game changer. That's when you go, okay, I want that. And I want that connection with people more than I want to keep things hidden. Right. And those are the kinds of connections that our hearts need and that our hearts long for, because we can have surface level connection. And I'm not saying that we're to have this obviously like with every single person that we meet. People get different levels of access to us, like somebody I meet at the grocery store, I'm not gonna just like pour out my heart, to them and try to create this intimate connection with them. But the people that are in your life on a regular basis, we have to be willing to walk like this in this vulnerable way. Because if we're not, then we keep these walls around us. And Brene says, this is interesting to me, and I believe it to be so true. Vulnerability is the core of shame and fear and our own struggle for worthiness. But it's also the birthplace of joy, of creativity, of belonging and love. So if we don't want to be vulnerable because of shame and fear and because of our own struggle for worthiness, we're also blocking that ability to have that true joy and sense of belonging and love. You can't have one without the other. And so if we're going to be walled up because of our shame and our unwillingness to be vulnerable and authentic with people, we're also preventing ourselves from being able to really embrace that joy and sense of belonging that we all want. And that is why all of this is so important to this abundant life that we're talking about. I just don't think that we can have abundant life in the way that Jesus wants us to have it if we're not walking out authentically. So here's a few things that hold us back though from walking authentically. Fear. We've got fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of disappointing someone. Expectations keep us from being authentic. It could be expectations from others or from ourselves. Oh, I didn't meet these expectations. And so now I don't want to be authentic about that. Pride can keep us from being authentic because, oh, what if somebody thinks less of me? And so that pride can get in the way. That lack of awareness that we talked about, of that self-reflection, am I being true to myself? That can keep us from living authentically. And then also control, like I'm going to control who sees which parts of me, because like this person can really know me. But that person over there, I'm going to control what they think about me. And so I'm going to act a different way around them. Maybe it's a boss or a church leader or a family member. And so they're only going to see these sides of me. And when we're divided like that, it's hard to walk an abundant life if you're not always being really true to yourself. And then of course, shame keeps us from it because that's rooted in fear. I was thinking about a story when I was in a Bible study with awesome women, and we were doing the Discerning the Voice of God Bible study by Priscilla Shirer. And these women in this group were amazing. And I knew some of them really well, and some of them I didn't know very well. But there was, I forget, something had come up, but I just decided to just kind of be vulnerable and transparent. And I was sharing about I won't go into all the details of it, but this car warranty situation that I was faced with. And and there was a moment where I was acting like an orphan, and I was thinking that I had to provide for myself, and I wanted to be dishonest about the mileage on the boy's car. And that thought came to me of, I meant to do it before they drove the 250 miles here, but I didn't. But I can tell them that mileage, and the car warranty people will never know. And I actually had that thought. And then like the Holy Spirit convicted me, and he was like, you think the warranty people are your providers? Like, I am your provider. And I was like, yes, okay, yes. And so I didn't do it. I wasn't dishonest, but I shared that story with the people in my life group, and literally one lady gasped. Like, you were going to be dishonest? And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so, those moments, right, that keep us from wanting to just be like, here's who I am, and here's the thoughts that I have, because she literally gasped when I said that. And I'm like, yeah, I actually did consider it, Okay, so here is, gosh, this time goes so fast. Okay, here's a quote. Just going to read this to you, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then we're going to wrap up. Hiding your weaknesses doesn't project strength. It reflects insecurity. And no matter what you do, people who know you well are going to find your flaws. So you might as well get credit for having the humility to look for them, look for your flaws, the self-awareness to see your flaws, and the integrity to admit them. And that's a quote by this guy named Adam Grohl that I came across one day, and I was like, oh no, that's good. But hiding your weaknesses, it doesn't project strength. It just reflects insecurity. And so a really good question to ask yourself is if you're wanting to hide, what is it that you're insecure about? What is it that, are you fearing man over God in that moment? Those are good things to consider. But here's a few questions for you that I want you to write down, and then you can consider these with the Lord. How would your life look different if you lived fully authentic with everybody all the time? If you were completely transparent, completely honest. And that doesn't mean that you're being dishonest, but I mean by being really transparent, not hiding your weaknesses. How would your life look different? The next question is, do you know who you really are? How would you define yourself? Because you have to really know who you are to be able to walk that out, right? And then this question is there a discrepancy between how you present yourself to the world versus who you are? Versus who you really are? And if so, what do you want to do about that? So I'm going to read those again real quick. How would your life look different if you lived your life fully authentic 100% of the time with 100% of the people? Do you know who you really are? How would you define yourself? Is there a discrepancy between how you present yourself to the world versus who you really are? And if so, what do you want to do about that? So those are the questions that I have for you to consider on authenticity, which is really key to abundant life. And I want to remind you that of my offer to do a free coaching session. If you want that, feel free to take me up on it. And real quick, I want to kind of lay out what is coming next. And so Thrive 30, I don't know if I'm going to keep calling it Thrive 30, if I'm going to call it Thrive 90, I don't know, probably still Thrive 30, and we'll just take 1 month at a time. But I'm going to turn it into a 3-month program, a 3-month cohort, if you want to call it, because, you know, several of you have repeated month after month anyway, because you're seeing the value, you're seeing the fruit of it, and it's so sweet. And you're seeing that, you know, it takes more. I mean, we all knew this, right? It takes more than 30 days to establish really healthy habits and patterns. And so it's just going to become a 90-day thing. And for those that are like all in, you're like, yes, I'm going to do the 90 days. For some of you are like, oh my gosh, that's a massive commitment. I have fear of long-term commitments like that. You are welcome to do 1 month. You're welcome to do that. But I will say I'm going to change this because this 12 o'clock time is so hard for a lot of people. A lot of you work, things come up. We have other Bible studies we're doing, and I get all of that, totally get all of that. And so I'm going to pre-record the content sessions like this, and I'm going to give you the questions, and I'm going to release those every Sunday. I hope I can figure out how to automatically do that, but I'm going to release those every Sunday so that if you want to watch it on the Sunday evening as you prepare and go into the next week, then you can do that. I'm also going to include a little time management piece in that as well, because I think it's so important to have the time management piece so that you can be really intentional and productive throughout the week. And then, so those are going to, one content session is going to be released every Sunday. And then there's going to be 1 day a week that is a live Zoom call for everybody in the challenge. Don't know the time or the day of that yet, but I'm probably going to poll all of you in this group to find out, like, is noon the best time, or is 6 p.m. the best time, or 8 p.m. the best time? Because that's just going to be a quick kind of informal check-in where we can all see each other's faces, because we're mostly here for the accountability piece, where we can see each other's faces, hop in real quick. And if that is a 5-minute hop in and hop out for you, then that's fine. So it's a smaller time commitment, but it also gives that accountability. So I think doing that once a week will bring everybody hopefully onto the Zoom. I just think that gives inspiration and that kind of extra accountability that we need to know, hey, we're going to be looking for your face on that Zoom call for a check-in, or for you to say, hey, like I'm struggling with the meditation, or whatever it is. Like, do you have any helpful hints? That way I can kind of share any kind of feedback like that. And then also, so I think that's it for now about the challenge, but I wanted to share this from Kelly. She was so sweet. She texted me. She said, a win for me. The I am statements are starting to take hold in my heart, and I'm seeing the fruit of what happens when you see yourself the way God sees you again.
Mhm.
And that just made me so happy. And she said, if you want to share that for me, then feel free to share that for me. And she says she loves and misses you all. She's it's fast this week. So anyway, so I loved that. And yes, it's true. You know, things do start to shift
Mhm.
when we are speaking these truths over ourselves every day. So anyway, thank y'all for being on. Sorry I went over,
That's
and
okay.
we'll
Yeah.
see you on Friday. Same time, same place.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Cynthia,
Yeah.
hold on.